Make your presence known. Make your presence known. Make your presence known. Reveal your glory. Reveal your glory. Reveal your glory right here. Reveal your glory. Reveal your glory. Oh Lord, reveal your glory. Reveal your glory. Reveal your glory. Reveal your glory, Lord. Reveal your glory. Reveal your glory in this holy place, Lord. We wait on you, Jesus. Reveal your glory, Lord. Show up in this house, Lord. Reveal. Reveal your glory. Manifest yourself. Manifest yourself. Manifest yourself. Manifest yourself. Manifest yourself. Lord, we need you. We wait on you, Lord. Manifest yourself. Manifest yourself. We feel you right now. Manifest yourself. Manifest yourself. Manifest yourself. Oh Lord, we wait on you. I don't know about you, but I want more of Jesus. Don't you want him to show up and show out? Come on, could you reach for him as he reaches towards us right now? Can you reach for him? He's reaching for you. Come on, manifest yourself. Manifest yourself. Manifest yourself. Manifest yourself in this place, in this holy sanctuary. Lord, manifest yourself. Manifest yourself. Manifest yourself. Manifest yourself. We need more of your glory.
are listening to Serenity Radio Network on Jerry Royce Live worldwide at positivepower21.org. We thank you for joining us. You can also find us on jamvibesradio.biz, Elation Radio, YouTube, and iTunes. Serenity is a Christian-based multicultural empowerment station that focuses on the mind, body, and spirit. The program specializes in bringing to the listeners the very best from the healing arts community on the subjects of self, health care, spiritual healing, and kingdom living. Serenity Radio is sponsored by the Serenity Weight Loss and Detoxification Program. To enroll, call the program director, Michelle Edmonds, a.k.a. the Godmother, at 404-445-8579, or contact them on Facebook at Serenity Weight Loss. After the music break, the next voice that you hear will be that of our awesome host for the Hour of Power. Hang on, everyone.
But thank you, Lord. I can't help but lift my voice. When burdens were heavy, you raised me and gave me strength. I needed to go on. I can't help but praise your name. I can't help but lift my hands. Yeah, when I strayed away, you forgave me and saved me and gave me another chance. So many things you've given I did not deserve and didn't earn. You could have just chose to give up on me. Instead, you've always taken care of me. You've held me, you've kept me, you've loved me through good times and bad times. I'm sorry. I thank you, Lord. And I thank you. Thank you for all that you've done for me, Lord. Thank you for turning my melody today. Ooh, I can't help but give you my all. I can't help but try my best. Yes. I know I can lean on you, count on you. I can depend on you. With you, I'm true.
Yes, sir.
I can't help but love you right. And I can't help but try to do right by you. Lord, you called me your own, and you made me belong, all in spite of the wrong I do.
That's right.
After all of my mistakes, you should have just turned and walked away. You held me when I felt like giving up. When I slipped and fell down, you picked me up. You constantly show me you love me. You show you think of me. I praise you.
This is Michelle Edmonds. We've been just having a great time. You've been listening to the first selection was Vicky Yohe, Reveal Your Glory. The second selection was the Wardlaw Brothers. They are actually based in Hotlanta with me. Here's a little interesting, fun piece of information about them. They were recently on Family Feud with Steve Harvey.
No way.
I kid you not. And
Did they win?
No, they didn't win, but they sang.
Okay, all right.
Isn't that? They sure did, and I called them up right away. I said, I sure like your music. I thought that was an interesting little piece of trivia, everyone.
Tied in.
To Serenity Radio. And Mark, you just let it rip. I know you got a great show for tonight.
Absolutely. We are ready for the Hour of Power. What an appropriate name. You know, first of all, we have to do the housekeeping, and Andrea's going to share with us. We have to do this every show because of what we're talking about. Everything we talk about on the Hour of Power is the view of the commander and Michelle, but in no way does this replace any treatment by a medical doctor. The suggestions that I make and Michelle makes and the guests that I bring on help you gain a larger perspective in how to gain control of your health.
That's right.
And if you ever feel you need to go to the doctor or the ER or anything like that, do not wait. Please go, for you can get things under control that way, and then try to get a hold of one of us, and we can help get you to the right people to help you recover from just about any chronic illness. But today, Michelle, we've been focused in a lot on physical health and well-being, but one of the great complementary forms of medicine is the mind-body connection.
Absolutely.
Even the MD, Dr. James Gordon, he is the director of the mind-body studies and clinical professor in the departments of psychiatry and community and family medicine at Georgetown University School of Medicine. Whew, that was a lot. Okay, everybody breathe. He nailed it down too, and he shares the same view as a lot of the naturopaths that if you have an infectious disease or definitely need surgery, he is so grateful for the progress there. But he says, unfortunately, the power of this biomedical model, we have narrowed the human perspective over time. People view health as a failure of mechanical parts of the body, like the heart, the lungs, kidneys, brain, lymphatics, the GI tract, and all those. We are so accustomed to identifying health failures in this respect. So it's the sum of the parts of the whole, and I guess the great thing that happened to bring that all to be was Andrew Carnegie, was Rockefeller, J.P. Morgan, shoving a bunch of cash in early on in the 20s with Abram Flexner going around to all the medical schools. It's just, everybody went where the money went. They put their money into allopathic medicine. When there indeed was a lot of homeopathic schools, even Harvard had them, the big hitters, and and over the next few years they had all closed. But like I always kept telling people, Rockefeller was the greatest hypocrite to that endeavor they made, because he kept his homeopathic physician till the day he died. So that's a thought there. People have lost sight of the importance of psychological, social, economic, and environmental influence of health and illness, and illness of the extraordinary power of the mind to affect the body. So that brings us to proven ways that gratitude can add more happiness and stave off the blues. It's been found that mood, attitude, and beliefs can affect nearly every chronic illness that you can have. Let me tell you a little bit about our guest tonight. Her name is Julie Schultz. I came to meet Julie quite a few years ago, and it was part of the longevity family. We had a young man named David Sullivan, who's a pre-med student in Loyola University. I met Julie and her daughter Jamie. We got to meet her son, and I just know Julie to be just an awesome mom, and she has done she has brought me out of some of my doldrums over the course of my life in a very simple, practical way. But she wanted to let you know that her professional journey started at the University of Wisconsin, Parkside, with a cross-country and track scholarship, where I pursued a degree in business with an emphasis in human resources and a minor in psychology. Holy Moses. She was up 24/7 studying. Post-college, I worked both in the manufacturing and healthcare industries, hiring employees, training and development, and employee satisfaction and morale. I took time off to raise my two children, Jamie, who's 20 now, and Christian, who's 17. While tending to them, I also obtained 2 separate life coach certifications from California. I've been a practicing life coach for 11 years, and know it is the purpose and calling for my life. I am passionate about books, healthy cooking, and adventure trips that include biking, hiking, paddleboarding, or snowshoeing. Well, that's a good time for this time of year, Julie. And in nature, I find the solace of God's beauty and mountains of gratitude. So without further ado, I want to introduce Julie Schultz, introduce a little about gratitude, how to build people up. I think that absolutely. I love when she does that.
Thank you.
That. So Julie, tell me something. Tell me that, that in your field that I know you're passionate about. I mean, I've talked to you on numerous occasions, and we always have a great chat, and we try to build each other up. But say somebody comes to you the very first time, and you can get a hold of Julie on Skype. I mean, it's a great time to do that. So distance is not a constraint, is it?
No, and I have clients throughout the country. I have clients I've never met in person. One of my clients in South Carolina, and we talk every single week, and it's just amazing. So technology can be a good thing. As you'll learn in this hour, I have a love-hate relationship with technology, as some of the reasons I'll explain. So Mark and I have talked before, many, many times, but I'm all about the brain, and the neuroscience is coming along just leaps and bounds. There was a time when they thought your brain was fully formed by age 3. And now neuroscientists know it's age 26 or 27 before it's fully developed. So what we're going to address today is the problem of winter blues and anxiety, but not only just winter blues. It seems to be in this modern society, people are getting more stressed out, more anxious. Would you agree, Mark?
I would agree. I mean, so many people right now are in poverty. I think we're seeing a lot more people die and faster. I mean, and they just all these burdens keep bringing what I call the people's life energy down, and that can just have a great impact.
Exactly. And so we'll get to the solution part and the gratitude part, but first I want to address the problem. And I know you address the problem a lot of times through nutrition, because nutrition does have a lot to do with mood. Exercise has a lot to do with mood. But today I'm going to really focus on the mind and the brain and fixes that are very low cost or no cost to reverse this. So the empowered question that I would ask any client when they present with a certain problem, but this is a general problem. So why are so many people experience high levels of stress and anxiety and depression this time of year, but each year it's increasing as well? And of course, I am going to blame electronics for a lot of it. Again, there's that love-hate relationship.
Oh, I agree.
Okay,
yes.
So I'm going to address the mind piece. Mark often addresses the nutrition, body piece. So it boils down, as neuroscientists have discovered, a lot to 2 things that are stressing us out: noise and choices. What should we start with, Mark, noise or choices?
Oh, go with your favorite. It's probably technology and noise.
Okay, so when I'm talking about noise, I'm not just talking about physical, actual noise. So much information is coming at us at the speed of light, and I'm not sure we're ready for this. I'll often tell clients to take a news fast, and the objection I will hear is, well, I won't be informed. Trust me, if something's important enough, you will be informed. Okay, so the brain, this is how the brain works, and so we'll call this also Neuroscience 101, not just gratitude. So when the brain is inundated with too much information, and that's us being on our tablets or having the TV on at all times or the radio and things that we're not choosing but are just coming to us randomly. The brain interprets that as a threat. It's just too much. So instead of being able to pick out the positive and the negative, it scans the world for negativity. And this is like that deep, deep part of our brain, which is often called the reptilian brain. So we have that middle part that keeps us alive because it scans for danger. Well, all this stuff coming at us is just too much for our brains. And so there's 4 things that make something qualify as noise. One is that it's unusable. And so I'll give it a lot of the tragedies, and as we all know, there's been more and more shootings. It just seems like last week there was 3, and I did not go looking to find this out, but I heard about a shooting in Kalamazoo, And I have a relative near Kalamazoo, so of course I was interested, and I wanted to know if he was safe. Found out it had nothing to do with him. He was safe, but what makes noise unusable is if it doesn't change our behavior. So if I continue to look every day what's going on with the Kalamazoo killer, that's noise. If I were to start a fund for the victims of the shootings, then it's not noise. And so much that's coming at us is unusable. Would you agree?
Oh, I totally would agree. I mean, I live and work in the murder capital of the United States. You know, I go into Chicago on a constant basis. I'm sitting in the middle of downtown or some suburb waiting for a patient to be ready to go in the ambulance. It's very, 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 very sick. You know, they could be shot, believe it or not, or beat up or something, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know what kind of, that's a lot of noise in me. And then listening about politics, listening about the immigrations of thousands of people into different countries and their aggression, and there's definitely no gratitude by them that they bring out. So that's been a lot of noise on my brain.
Oh yeah, so we need to limit the amount of noise to find that peaceful center. And so another thing that qualifies something as noise is it's untimely. And you know, for me, a great example is the stock market. I have long-term investments for the next 30 years. So there's going to be ups and downs. And if I were to look every day and see what the market is doing, I would stress myself out when I know I'm in for the long haul. And so another thing that makes something qualify as noise is it's hypothetical or it's just a prediction. Again, the weather forecast is only right 53% of the time.
Yeah.
And so if we stick to things that are qualifying as noise, we get away from what's really important. And now here's a big one for most people. The unusable part is pretty big, but if it's a distractor, I am guilty of this myself. I don't play Candy Crush. No, I don't do that. But I can get lost on Facebook. I can get lost on surfing the net, even about neuroscience and, you know, binge watching TV shows. And now I don't want to rip on that too much because we do need time for our brains to just have downtime. But we need to limit it. We can't go binge watch, shows for 3 days straight. And so if we limit noise, we get signal, and signal is what our purpose is and what our priorities are. So when I'm working with a client, right away I want to know what their top priorities are. And so anything that doesn't have to do with, let's say they say family, work, spirituality, and health, anything that doesn't have to do with that is noise. So when we limit noise, and it's very weird at first, but weird doesn't mean bad. The brain likes homeostasis. Again, if you're drinking a quart of vodka a day, that's the brain and body's homeostasis. You stop doing it and the body rebels. It doesn't mean what you were doing is good. So when you limit noise, sometimes it feels weird. So, Mark, I'm going to challenge you. Where are you going to cut back on the noise in your life?
Where am I with my noise in my life?
What are you going to cut back?
You know, one of the things that I cut back, and you made a very good point about that, is the time that I spend looking at my phone. And as long as I can remember, all the way through nursing school, TV had to be a distractor for me. I had to have it on just to help me focus, which is kind of weird, but I would do better if I had that kind of distraction in the room. It really wasn't music. It was other people and it wasn't up real high or anything. I just had to have that noise in the room. But more recently, I found out that if I was on, like, the Warriors page, I'm following the Wellness Warriors Good Food, Bad Food page. I'm following the Wellness Warriors Healthy Daily Living page. And now I'm on with Leanne Bacon-King and her husband. I'm a professional, registered professional there to offer insight as to aromatherapy and aromatology on their page. I was just invited there, and I'm really excited about that. So I guess my distractors would be, my noises would be those. So I've had to say hey, I gotta let it go for a little while, turn off the phone or whatever, go pull up a book or something.
Yeah, set a timer. Right. And so it's not that these are bad things, as we know, things in moderation. But for me, when I hold myself accountable, my life improves dramatically. And that's why a lot of people do hire a life coach for that accountability until they get that self-accountability. Okay, can we move on to choices?
Okay.
So
I have to find somebody to be accountable besides God, I guess. But there's nobody else I really need to be accountable to, but in a local respect, maybe so, you know. So
the biggest one.
But yeah.
So moving on to choices. Now, there's something called brain fatigue, and all of us know of it. I mean, a great example I think of is when my kids were younger, and let's say, you know, been busy all day, getting everything all done, think it's finally time to relax. It's 9 p.m., and one of the kids like, oh, I need a poster board for a project tomorrow. At that point, your brain is so fatigued, you want to lose it. And so everyone's brain fatigue is different, but I like to look at it this way. We have only so many choices in us in a day. And when we think of choices, now, Mark, I think you and I are not too far apart in age. Remember the cereal aisle when we were young?
Yes.
Now it's a complete true aisle. And so I don't know if there's Joyce Meyer fans in the crowd, but she has a new book, brand new, called Overload, and it addresses a lot of the things I'm talking about here, maybe not as much from a brain perspective, but lots of good scripture, and it's wonderful. So she found out that the average American supermarket right now has 48,750 items separate. And that probably isn't talking about these jumbo superstores. It's just small. 5 times the amount in 1975. And I don't think the brain distinguishes choice. So if you have to look at 3,000 tubes of toothpaste, that's a choice. You used up a choice for the day. And so what we need to do is limit some of our choices. And the reason famous people or rich people who have handlers, they can be so present and in the moment and so calm and relaxed, they don't have to worry about even their wife's or husband's anniversary. So, you know, they have an assistant who takes care of that. The people like, the average American has so many things on their mind. So when you make sure choices are limited, we don't burn ourselves out. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me. In my profession, I've been dealing with healthy things and crises and making those priorities that sometimes it doesn't balance well with priorities at home. And so I think that's where you come in to help us say, hey, it's not balanced out. You got to balance here in order to feel better here, like in the Wellness Warriors page, we're spiritually, emotionally, and physically in balance. And when that balance is good, everything's good. But one of those, say, spirituality was really taking a bender on us or giving us too much noise. We need to focus, but we need to put it in perspective and understand. So, and that's where I think you come in, and that's, I think, where I know that's where you come in because you've helped me and with some issues, and that's why I thought we'd have you here today to bring that to us.
Oh, yeah, and it's such a pleasure being here. That music was beautiful and touching. It just really touched me all the way to my soul. Okay, so now that we know what the problem is, noise, choices, anxiety, depression, we don't want to end there. That's a little too depressing, right? So we can get into some of the solutions. And this gratitude challenge I'm going to offer to all of you is amazing. And, we've heard about this for years, that gratitude is important. But now there's the brain scans and the surveys and the science and the specific ways of showing gratitude that prove it to be even more helpful. And so I'm going to get into that a little bit. And so there was a study not too long ago where they took grumpy, pessimistic 80-year-olds. So these people are pretty set in their ways. And, a lot of people will say, okay, you can't teach an old dog new tricks and what have you. And so they tested as pessimists for decades, if not their whole life. And so they were given a challenge, a gratitude challenge, and a lot of scientists say it takes 21 days to create a habit. I'm more of the 42-day variety, so 6 weeks as opposed to 3 to really nail the point home. But I can live with 21. So for 21 days, these cranky, grumpy octogenarians had to write down 3 things they were grateful for, but specific to that day and with some detail. So a lot of people can say something, I'm grateful for my family, my health, my house, but the brain at some point does not register that anymore. The brain loves new things and novelties. The brain would love to go to a different circus every day. That's what the brain thrives on. So rather than being short and nonspecific, these 80-year-olds had to write something very specific to that day. This is crazy. After 21 days, they tested as low-level optimists. After years and years of entrenched pessimism. And it doesn't take long. I have been doing it now for probably 6 weeks, and it's groundbreaking in my life. And part of the reason I really need this is kind of like you, Mark. You're there in the trenches, and I'm there to help people with their problems and their sorrows and their deepest fears and things like that. And that's not exactly always positive and uplifting. When they make progress, it is. So I have to remind myself about all the things that are right. And this is great to do with children at the dinner table. So children who are showing pessimistic tendencies, and some kids just, it's genetics, it's, anyone who has multiple kids knows how different they can be. So getting them started in this process at the dinner table literally changes their brains. And I can think of a personal example. I was having a trying day one day and, heading from one client to the next. And I was holding myself stiff because I was stressed out, and I'm feeling my shoulders start to, try to meet my ears. And I'm like, wait, I have to find something to be grateful for. So I was in the countryside going from one city to the next, and it was just the most beautiful purple and pink sky, the sunset, the rolling hills, and I just looking at God's beauty, I could just feel the stress melt off my body just by observing, instead of fixating in my mind what was giving me the challenge. And I just relaxed, and I came home that night and I wrote that in my gratitude journal, and that's what I mean by being very specific to that day. And so what you're doing is you're training your brain to look at what's right than what's wrong. And there is survival value. Like, Mark, when you're in a dangerous neighborhood, you need your survival skills there. But you also need to be able to turn them off when they're not pressing. And that's what our brains aren't that great at doing. We have to teach it.
Absolutely. Working in the emergency room for as long as I did, I called it shifting up. And that was easy, but downshifting was hard, and it brings good credence to what you're saying, because it took me a long time to learn how to go up to fourth gear and shift back to first. I'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah, and it is like building a muscle. It's like lifting weights. You're not going to start with the heavy weights right away. You just do it a little bit. But to give some more facts and figures, to give credence to positivity, when the human brain remains positive, and of course we can't do it all the time. We're all works in progress. But what's been discovered is that your creativity triples. And for most of our jobs, we need to be creative no matter what we do, creative solutions. We become 10 times more engaged in life. 10 times. Our productive energy rises by 31%. And for those of you that might be listening that are in sales, and really, all of us entrepreneurs are in sales, you get 37% more sales because positivity is so infectious as well as negativity. We all know that. And then those listeners who might be in the corporate world, they have 47% more likely chance of getting a promotion. So positivity is a good use of our time. It is productive. And so Mark, are you going to start the gratitude challenge?
I think we're going to give homework. We already tried to give a challenge for a week at least.
21 or more days. I actually want to do it for life, because when I read of these benefits and the small time commitment, because, again, I could be looking at Facebook for those 10, 15 minutes I'm writing, or I could do something that's building up my brain.
Yeah, well, you know, I used to kid people all the time, Julie, to say, wow, you know, you guys are just, and I never say the word problem. I always use the word issue, and I use the word solution. Even in my whole military career, you know, we had field problems. We had field issues, and we would solve them as a group. And of course, after so many years, I had to lead that charge. But you know, I say, you guys are gonna bang the heck out of my one brain cell till, you know, I slipped and fell in November. They did a CAT scan. They found more than one. So now I kind of probably owe you to go ahead with this gratitude challenge to see if indeed those other 2 or 3 brain cells are working. But
and I'll be checking up with you.
That I didn't see any atrophy on my CAT scan, which was pretty good for a guy my age. I know I'm a couple years old.
No Swiss cheese brain.
No, none of that yet.
That's what a lot of ex-NFL players literally have, brains that look like Swiss cheese. You know. And so when we're talking again about happiness, and so a lot of us think happiness is just about feeling good. But a better definition from a neuroscientist perspective is that it's the joy we feel while striving for our purpose and potential. And when we look at it that way, it's not just about feeling good, because I know for me, I did not pick an easy career, a no-brainer career. One time I was in a networking group, and one of the women owned a chocolate store, and I'm like, wouldn't that just be nice to have a no-brainer job for it? You know, but I know me with my brain, I'd be bored after a day. So when we think positive, we stop diverting our brain's resources to think about anxiety. And if we redefine our definition of happiness to include striving and purpose, then we are more forgiving of the tough times, because, like, this is my goal. This is what God put me on earth to do. And for everybody, it's different. And I do help people discover their purpose, because that was one of my trainings in California. And it's amazing when people, because some people get nervous. What if my purpose is something I hate? It'll never be something you hate. It'll be something you're passionate about. Because God, to me, would not be that cruel. Okay, you have to create widgets for the rest of your life when you really want to be an artist, or, you know, something like that. So I think when we shift our view of happiness, we can get through the tough times quicker. So here's gratitude challenge number 2.
Uh-oh.
And small acts of kindness, conscious acts.
Oh, yeah.
And so what has been discovered, that if somebody for 2 minutes a day, again, there's that magic number, for 21 days, praises a person via text or email, somebody you know, somebody that deserves it, and you choose a different person every day, you're not only making that person's life better, but it's proven to make you happier. One of the antidotes for depression and anxiety is to give service to another, to feel useful, and kind of takes us out of our own mind, our own self-absorption. And for me, sometimes it's as easy as just smiling at somebody who looks down, or, you know, somebody who's older and looks lonely, just flashing them a big smile. More often than not, you'll get one back. And then you feel that beautiful energy exchange between you. And it's a win-win. But the cool thing, too, about, you know, sending these emails or texts is you get perceived as a positive leader. And I think all of us need to be positive leaders in our own lives. Do you agree, Mark?
I totally agree with that one. And, you know, I already accomplished that challenge. I'll say hi to people, or especially as we're passing down the hallway in the hospital or something, somebody will look at us and we'll say hi. And they may smile. And
and it just feels. And what did it cost you? I mean, a lot of times it gives us more. Yeah.
And then they recommend, and it's very therapeutic. You could, if we're going in the realm of technology and all that stuff, it's very therapeutic for us. And I totally agree that is very important, and that does help me get through my day. I try to bring out my partners every day because I have to work with 2 people, and we also have a crew of 9 that rotates on 3 ambulances every day, and people that walk in and out. And we've been finding out that people have been saying hi to each other as they walk in to say, hi, how's it going? Yeah, I guess, as Mrs. Commander would say, it builds a connection, even if it's not a personal one. It's just, some, probably I could regard it as some good noise, maybe.
Yeah,
and,
positive noise. So it would actually be signal, because you're bringing in the positive and you're getting, so it wouldn't qualify as noise, but it's, what we're looking for is signal, and that's creating signal. And so have you addressed sleep at all, Mark, in your talks about nutrition and wellness?
No, we talked about water, but our next talk was about sleep.
Well, I want to just mention sleep.
You can do it. Yes.
Yeah, well, what's really cool, again, back to that neuroscience, I keep telling myself I want to find a little necklace in the shape of a brain, because I am such a brain geek. What we didn't talk about in my bio is it took me 6 years to graduate college, because the first 3 years of school, I was in nursing school. And very little transferred over to business. 1 class, college algebra. So I basically had to cram 4 years into 3 years after 3 years, if that makes sense. And I redshirted for 1 year of running. So I really got the scholarship for 5 years, and I only had to pay for that final year. Okay, so this is what got me into wanting to go into business and psychology. In nursing, we had anatomy and physiology, and we were privileged to work with a cadaver, and they couldn't let us know how this person died, and we, the professor and the students, were supposed to figure it out. But I remember when we got to the brain, you have to take a little saw and very gently take off the top of the skull, and when I held this, he was a 70-year-old man, so he, 70-some, so he'd lived a good long life. I held his brain in my hands, and I was like, everything he dreamed about, prayed about, thought about, all these memories, like I was mesmerized. I'm like, I have to get out of nursing. Nursing's fine, but I need to just work with people's brains, and I've been transfixed ever since. And so there's cells in the brain called glial cells, Glial. And for many, many years, scientists thought they do nothing. Like, it was thought that the appendix does nothing. Oh, they're just there. What they actually do is no short of amazing. And so God doesn't make any mistakes, right? He doesn't put cells there that don't belong. So if a person gets 7 to 8 hours of sleep, teens need 9, little kids need 10, 7 to 8 hours, the recommended amount, the glial cells shrink the other brain cells temporarily. Don't worry, not permanently. And there's like a washing action. The plaques in between that cause dementia are swept away. And again, there is genetic component to dementia, but there's so many lifestyle things that can be done, and sleep is one of them. I work with clients about sleep all the time, and it is not negotiable. I mean, so many people look as a prize, sleep. I don't need much sleep. We don't know if we've aged the brain faster than our bodies till it's too late. And I come from a family of 7. Did you know that about me, Mark?
No.
I'm the baby. I'm the baby sister. So 7 kids. The middle 5 were born 1 year or less or slightly more apart. So they would not
goodness.
like this, but I call it a pack mentality. And I'm younger. I think I was one of those Catholic oopsies. So anyway, the middle 5 are very competitive, and it used to drive me nuts when I was younger, but then I think about it from a more wiser adult perspective. They were really fighting for limited resources. When I had high school nearly to myself, all the rest of them had gone off to college and, were living their lives. But they're very, very competitive. I remember at one point 2 of my sisters are cat lovers, and they were arguing over who has the best cats. One was like, nice. I have the best cats. The other was like, no, mine. And I finally said, you have the best cats for you, and you have the best cats for you. But one thing, I have 4 sisters and 2 brothers, and my 4 sisters like to one-up each other. I think, again, there's that, closeness in age and that competitive. And I remember thinking when they would start in on, I can get by on 4 hours, I can get by on 5. I remember thinking, because I've always loved sleep, I'm not going to lie. They're all type A personalities, and I'm a B+. So I have always loved my sleep. Being a runner, after a race, I wanted to sleep for 12 hours. I mean, it's just, sleep was always my balm, and now I kind of get it. So everyone who's listening, it is not a fault to need sleep and to use your sleep and to treat it pretty much as sacred for your brain. And so what researchers have discovered, as we all know, I mean, it seems like a no-brainer, right? Lack of sleep leads to negativity. Well, there was a study that proves it. I kind of like studies that prove things a lot. So when you get 8 hours of sleep, for the next 24 hours, when you hear positive and negative words, you remember 80% of them. So that's a balanced view. So let's say, your boss calls you in and says positive things and negative things. Or if he's smart, he does the sandwich technique. Starts with positive, puts the meat as the negativity, and ends with positive. So basically you're seeing reality pretty close after 8 hours of sleep. This, again, is crazy to me. If you get 5 hours of sleep, you remember 70% of the negative words and only 20 to 30% of the positive. So when you deprive yourself of sleep, you're literally, these are my words, but you're filtering out the good. If those aren't 2 reasons to get more sleep.
Yeah, so for 2 days of the week when I'm on my 24-hour shift, I might as well just cut out the next day, because I'm going to have to get up to some big gratitude for that period, I guess. Because most of the time I'll get about 2.5, I'll get the most, maybe 3 hours in a row.
Right, and what's been discovered is, like, you really can, they used to say you can't catch up with your sleep. You really can. And some of us, you're going through health issues that make sleep hard or anxiety. And I have really good success with my clients about the ones who are struggling with sleep. I will sometimes make them a guided imagery on their, that's one way I like technology. I can just take their smartphone and make a recording. Again, for the most part, technology is adding to anxiety, depression, noise, too many choices. But so I'll make them a very calming, I'll ask them to think of a beautiful place in nature that they want to be, and it does help their sleep. And I've been told I have a very soothing voice when I'm, doing one of those recordings. And when I work with teens naturally want to stay up later, their circadian rhythms, and then get up later. And school systems that have actually honored that, where they start at 10 a.m., they saw their test scores go through the roof. But most schools, for budget reasons or buses or whatever, so I am really diligent about both of my kids getting sleep. And my 20-year-old, she's really diligent about it now, and she's took the ball and ran with it. And my son plays competitive sports. My 17-year-old is 6'6", by the way, folks.
Yeah,
he's a giant.
Almost as tall as his mother.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm an Amazon woman.
So what about naps, Julie? What about naps?
Naps really can't. I mean, it's better to get that 7 to 8, but if you had a horrible night's sleep, naps are good. I'm not going to lie, they're good, but that block of sleep, I have a sleep tracker, again, one good use of technology. So most fitness trackers now have sleep, and it's kind of crazy. If I forget to put it on, I don't know how well I slept. I've lost the ability to. But I am a world-class sleeper, I'm not going to lie. And now I can be proud of it. Amongst my sisters, I had to keep my mouth shut because I'm like thinking in my brain, I need my 8 hours. I can't win this fight, so I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. Now I feel like a winner because I intuitively listened to what my body needed.
Right.
And so my sleep tracker, so if I have a bad night of sleep, I do things the next night. Obviously, we know to stay away from caffeine, but it's best to stay off any screen 1 hour before sleep because it activates the pineal gland, which is a gland in our forehead, I'm sure you know that, Mark, but it activates it like sunlight. So back in the day, before there was electricity, people would go to bed at dusk and get up at dawn, and we have all this artificial light now. So staying off screens, TVs aren't as bad. They're not as bad, but the iPads and the computers and the phones, it gives us that second wind that we don't want. So I am, pretty good about getting off. I'm going to say pretty good because I'm not perfect. Getting off my device and knowing that, some people, I have this microwavable thing I put around my neck that heats up and it just, warms me up, and maybe a nice cup of herbal tea. And again, when I recommend news fast is you're watching the news and you're soaking in all this negativity, not just your community, but the nation and then the world's negativity. And then it's like, okay, now I'm supposed to sleep. That often helps people.
Yeah, so I guess newscasts really don't help us unless your sports team is winning or if the weather's going to be great.
Exactly. And so, and a lot of people rebel against this, as I mentioned very early in the program, is like, how will I be informed? But what's your priority? Do you want to know all the bad things that are going on in the world, or do you want to get your 8 hours of sleep? So we just really have to be clear about our priorities. And so one of the final ways I want to talk about that can bring us gratitude and joy is to spend money. But, here's the but not on material things, on experiences, like positive experiences. And when you do that and then you bring along your friends, your colleagues, your loved ones, the happiness factor increases even then. And, and again, it doesn't really have to cost money. Go to Starved Rock for the day, or take your dog for a long walk, and look for things on the walk to be grateful for. Think of things to be grateful for. And so there's this whole movement now of not buying things, but buying experiences. And that's another thing I'm trying to instill in my children is, we don't need all these material things. My daughter just got back from 6 weeks in Cambodia where she saw how little people have. And I think she has a brand new appreciation for how much we Americans have. Even people who think they don't have a lot more than other people in third world countries who, they're scraping by for their next meal.
Absolutely.
But yet the happiness level is often off the charts because they have the social connection. They are grateful for the little things.
They work their brains out, haven't they?
Absolutely. And
hey, Julie.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a couple minutes? We could probably entertain some questions. I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm getting some
that's good. Absolutely.
vibes.
And I do want to mention that if somebody wants to give coaching a try, I'm going to get a very special discount to all the listeners, and just give it an hour's try. And I love the name of the show because I often say you can't underestimate the power of an hour with a coach. Just 1 hour, get a few things in order, and your life can just take off from there.
Well, kudos to Michelle on that one. Well done, sister.
Well, thank you.
So let's entertain a question. Somebody out there have a question. I know somebody does.
I do. Hi, Julie. This is Michelle speaking.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi. My question, would you mind, please, just giving a quick review over 1, 2, 3, the gratitude journal? Can you summarize for me one more time?
Yes. So when you keep the gratitude journal, every night or even morning, you pick your time of the day, you write 3 things that you're grateful for to that day, and you have to be really specific and add details. And the more details you add, the more your brain shifts to the positive part of your brain, from that negative survival part to the positive. And so the hard thing for me, what I find, is to find new things every day. It stretches and challenges me. And, sometimes I'm on my 6th week, so I will have some repeating variations. But what it does is it primes you to look closely at what's right. And again, it can be a smile from a stranger. Like maybe you were feeling sad and someone just smiled and you made that soul connection, a great meal, a hug. I mean, simple things. And if we pay attention to the simple things, because, the big days like the weddings and the graduations, they don't happen all the time. If we learn to embrace the simple little things, we can be happy under any circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
And then date it at the top as well, and then keep them for your kids, your grandkids. Did that answer your question, Michelle?
Yes, and then I heard you say, number 2, write down random acts of kindness.
Yes. So that's the second gratitude piece.
Got it. Okay.
Is 2 to 3 minutes a day for 21 days, send a text or an email to somebody in your life, thanking them or praising them, showing appreciation for what they mean in your life.
Got it.
And that's a good brain stretcher too, because we probably know the first 10, the first 15, but then getting to the rest of the people, and you never know if that person who's going to receive it needs it more than anything that day. Because a lot of times we'll put on a brave face, and inside we're really hurting.
Yes.
So, and then the third thing is sleep.
Oh.
That was it. I'm going to bed right after this.
I'll sing you. Well, you don't want me with my voice. You don't want me to sing you a lullaby. That will keep you up for days.
I'm sure. I think we have one more question out there. Michelle, did you have something else?
No, I'm very clear. Thank you. Appreciate that, Julie.
Oh,
Julie,
absolutely.
I have a question. This is Andrea. Thank you so
Andrea.
much. And thank you so much.
I'm glad you made it on the line. I saw the messages that you couldn't get on the line.
Yeah, I finally figured out what it was. So you were talking about sleep, and so the question that I have is, I have 3 in my family who, I have, and this, you may not be the right person to ask for one of them, but I have 3 in my family who talk in their sleep. Is that disruptive in their sleeping?
Not necessarily, because, one of the reasons we dream, because typically when they're talking, they're dreaming about something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny because my father-in-law, he sings in his sleep sometimes, but he talks in his sleep all the time. But why we need to dream, and a lot of people will say, I don't dream. We all dream. We would actually go insane if we didn't dream, but many people don't remember them. So when we're dreaming, we're working out our psychological problems of the day. So talking in their sleep isn't necessarily disrupting their sleep. Now, do any of these people have sleep trackers? Like a Fitbit that tracks their sleep?
No. Mm-mm.
But the short answer is no. It's not really disrupting their sleep, typically. Okay. And that they're working something out. And that's a good thing, because sometimes there's so many things in life over time, even that day, that have bothered us so much that we have to work it out in our sleep.
And so some people are just more verbal with their dreams, while others aren't.
Absolutely. And it's so funny because some people will have conversations in their sleep with their spouse or significant other, and they won't remember it the next day.
Yeah, they
have no memory.
They have no memory. Absolutely. I do because it keeps me up, but they have no memory of it. And my daughter, she doesn't any longer, but she used to sleepwalk when she was little. But I wondered if that was disruptive in any way. You were talking about how important the sleep is and getting their 8, 10, or 12 hours.
Yeah.
And so, okay. Well, thank you so much.
There's something called sleep hygiene, and I addressed it a little bit, getting in that frame of mind to sleep and allowing your body to relax and your brain to relax and staying away from violent things on TV. And you can teach the people in your family, your loved ones, some of those techniques and see if it doesn't make a difference.
Right.
Julie, will you come back in the future and come talk about sleep?
Absolutely. I have a lot to say about sleep.
I bet you do. I've got a lot to make up for.
Yeah, because I have another question, but I think Mark's going to cut me off.
Yeah.
What's your other question?
Cut you off.
Oh, is he going to?
At the top of the hour. It's the top of the hour. And I'm going to put you in touch with each other, and you can ask
text me, call me.
Text Julie. What's the easiest way to get a hold of you, Julie?
Well, I'm going to put out my cell phone, actually, and I'm a big texter, and I take phone calls, too. And so, like I said, I'm going to have a special discount for any of the listeners if they want to just check out life coaching, see if it's for them. So it's kind of like a try before you buy type of thing, but it is transformational. And so my number is 630-335-2354. So if any of you want to call or text, if you have additional questions about something I talked about or want to keep the conversation going, I look forward to that. I could talk about the brain endlessly.
Oh, you're coming back. So, hey, next week, you guys, I just want to encourage you over the next 21 days to keep the gratitude journal. Commander's going to try to do that. And then we're going to talk about how things age in the body and when we know about dementia, physiologic changes, and the senescent cells, the old cells, and how they can impact us in a very negative way and how we can eliminate those. And I'm sure Julie can identify with those amyloids that cause dementia and I'll give you some nutritional solutions, of course, and some supplement solutions that work very, 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 very well. And I want to thank Julie for being here. I want to thank Andrea, my co-host, Michelle, always handling things on the board. And let's just give a quick thanks to the Almighty One for all He gives us. Let us have more gratitude in our lives and be grateful for the people who help us realize that indeed we can be happy. We pray for all the negativity in the world to try to turn around, that we identify that and cope with that issue in a very positive way, Father. And it's in your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
But I look forward to talking to you next week.